Hey there, my little shadows. It's me, your master, the Shadow Reader here. I want to apologize first and foremost to all of you for not uploading in some time. I hadn't really had a whole lot of opportunities to sit there and actually make any videos during my time off from work. And of course, I do wish to apologize for that. And as a way of doing that, I ultimately decided to play around with a little something something. This specific something being AI. Yes, there is an AI generated story maker. Now, before I actually get into these stories, let me just go out of my way and say that even though AI generated stories and everything are interesting and fun to make, the best way to make an amazing story is with your own two hands. So if you really want to go out of your way and make something amazing, make it yourself. So enough with that. Sit back, relax, and enjoy 4 delicious AI-generated creepypastas. Father John had been a priest at St. Mary's Church for many, many years, and always been a man of deep faith. He was respected by his congregation and was known for being a kind and generous man. One day, Father John was walking down the street when he stumbled upon a small sandwich shop. He had never noticed that shop before, and he was curious to see what was inside. When he stepped inside, he was met with a strange sight. There were no customers, but instead a large sandwich was sitting on the counter. It was a strange-looking sandwich, with a black bun, red cheese, and a yellow filling. Father John was drawn to the sandwich, and he couldn't help but take a bite. Immediately, he felt a strange sensation all throughout his body. It was as if the sandwich was alive and calling out to him. He took another bite, and soon he was completely under the sandwich's spell. He became obsessed with the sandwich, and he slowly began to change. He started dressing differently and taking on strange mannerisms. He also began to preach about the power of the egg salad sandwich, and soon his congregation was following him in his new beliefs. Father John had become a servant of the sandwich, and soon he was performing rituals and sacrificing animals in its honor. He was no longer the kind and generous priest that everyone had known, for he had become a dark and evil creature bent on serving that one single egg salad sandwich. It was a dark and stormy night in the small town of Spring Hill. The only light came from the bright yellow arches of the McDonald's. It had been a popular spot for locals since it opened many years ago. However, as the night wore on, the townspeople began to notice strange things happening in the restaurant. Customers would come in for a meal, but would quickly become frightened and leave without finishing their orders. They would tell tales of strange noises coming from the kitchen, and of food that seemed to have had a mind of its own. As the rumors began to spread, more and more people started to avoid the restaurant. Soon it was completely abandoned, and the only people who would venture near it were brave enough to brave the dark and eerie atmosphere. One night, a group of teenagers decided to investigate the mysterious McDonald's. As they entered, they were met with a chill that seemed to come from the depths of the restaurant. They searched the kitchen and noticed that the food had been arranged in an odd pattern. The teens also noticed that the walls were covered in strange symbols, and that the air seemed to be filled with an evil presence. As they continued to explore, they heard a voice coming from the back of the restaurant. It was a raspy, sinister voice that spoke of an ancient evil that had been sealed away in the depths of the restaurant. The teens were terrified, but they knew they had to do something. They quickly ran out of the restaurant and spread the word of the evil that was lurking within. Soon, the townspeople had heard enough and decided to take action. They formed a mob and marched towards McDonald's, ready to burn it down, but an evil force had other plans. As the mob arrived, a giant, monstrous figure appeared and chased them away. The townspeople never returned to McDonald's, and it was eventually forgotten. But if you ever find yourself in Spring Hill, you can feel an eerie chill emanating from the abandoned McDonald's. It was a normal day in the small town of Hillcrest. People were going about their daily lives, completely unaware of the horrors that were going to be unleashed upon them. That night, a new Nick Jr. show aired for the first time. The show seemed innocent enough, but it quickly took a dark turn as strange images and messages began to appear on screen. The show seemed to be trying to communicate something, but no one knew what it was. At first, people simply shrugged off the strange occurrence as a fluke, but some things began to take a sinister turn. People who had watched the show began exhibiting strange behavior. They started talking in gibberish and behaving erratically. They also began consuming their own family members in acts of cannibalism. It seemed that the show had driven them mad with some sort of dark force. The police quickly stepped in and pulled the plug on the show before any more damage could be done. But it was too late. Hillcrest would never be the same again. To this day, no one knows what happened to that lost Nick Jr. show, or what dark force drove its viewers mad with such ferocity. But its legacy still haunts those that lived through it. James had finished his shopping at a small grocery store when he noticed a strange egg salad sandwich sitting on the shelf. He had never seen anything like it before, and he was immediately drawn to it. He couldn't explain why, but he felt a strange connection to the sandwich, as if it was calling out to him. He purchased the sandwich and decided to take it home. When he arrived, however, he noticed that the sandwich had changed. It had grown wings and horns, and its eyes were glowing red. James was terrified, but he also felt a strange sense of comfort and familiarity. He knew that the sandwich was something special, and slowly but surely he began to change. He started dressing up as an egg salad sandwich. He took on a more creepy and sinister appearance, and soon he was completely encased in the sandwich's dark, ritualistic spell. He soon developed an obsession with the sandwich, and he became convinced that the two of them were meant to be together. He decided to take his obsession a step further and marry the sandwich at a church. At first, the congregation was horrified, but eventually they accepted the marriage. After the ceremony, James and the sandwich left the church together, and they were never seen again. James had become slightly evil, and he was never the same again. He had given in to the power of that sexy sandwich, and it was a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. But not really, because he was in love with a very sexy egg salad sandwich. Bow chicka wow wow.
In fear and surprise, as your eyes widen, your mouth goes dry with each battered breath. You try to scream, your mind begs to leave. Glued to your computer screen, the killers they slash, the tapes burn and crash. The cartridge you bought will be your final haunt. The rituals of hate will seal your fate. The tears you shed will be from the fear-gripping horde-driven nightmarish gore-filled, terrorizing, hateful, burning, violent, rage-inducing, knife-slashing, blood-splattering, silent screams. Only time will tell if you will escape this online hell. Your horror-filled obsessions will come with its own regressions. Your pathetic screams will not be heeded anyway, because your nightmares will come.